episode 4 of Love, Lust, and Lies. And I am your host, Ken Canion. And I'm here to actually have fun. We're gonna have fun. It's gonna be entertaining. It's gonna be empowering. But most of all, I'm going to give it to you straight. I'm gonna give it to you real, raw, and I'm gonna be relatable because I'm gonna talk about myself in here. I got a letter from a female recently. Actually, she sent the letter 2 days ago, but I decided to read it today. And the letter is deep because the letter talks about, it just touches on how a lot of people, how a lot of, ladies think about relationships, about men, and they get jaded. So let's dive into it. All right. So she says to me, she says, "Dear Ken, I have listened to your show for the last 3 days, and I am amazed at the combination of realness and practicality. I am writing today because I have had bad experiences with men. I have had my heart broken too many times. I keep picking the same guy and getting hurt. I am jaded about ever finding someone to love me unconditionally. Men these days just don't know how to treat women. They only want to use you and take advantage of you. I would like to hear your take. I am in so much pain." Wow. So when she wrote the letter, basically what she was saying was she lumped everybody in the same bowl. She said men don't, treat women right. Well, number one, I had to tell her the first thing you did was you ended it with a limiting belief that you have, because there are men who are treating women right. But what it is that hasn't been your response. So you make the assumption that hasn't been your experience. So you make the assumption that that's a generality, that's everybody the same way. And I asked her one question. She said, "Okay, that's fair." I asked her one question. I said, "Would you ever question the thought patterns you have? Have you ever questioned the thought patterns that you possess? Ever? Have you ever said, could I be wrong about what I'm thinking?" And she says, "No." And she says, I said, "Okay." So I said, "My second question is the thing that I am believing, is it serving me?" And she said, "Okay, I've never asked myself that." But I said, "Is it serving you?" She said, "Is it serving you to get the things you desire?" She said, "Probably not." And then the last thing I asked her was, I said, "Do you feel broken?" And she said, "I do." And so I start today with that comment. So I start today with, I want everybody, I don't know if anybody has ever heard of the term, and I told her this. I said, have you ever heard of the term kintsugi? Now she says, kintsugi, and I said, "No, what is that?" So I said, let me turn my phone down, y'all, because I don't want that happening while we doing this. Okay. All right. Boom, boom. I got my phone turned down. Okay, so now I can see everybody and I got my phone turned down. Okay, and I said, "Do you understand? Do you know what kintsugi is?" And she said, "Kintsugi? No." And I said, "It's a tradition that came out of the 15th century. And it came from a shogun who was the emperor at the time. And he had his favorite tea bowl. And his favorite tea bowl, what happened was he actually broke it. He shattered his favorite tea bowl. Now, y'all know how sometimes you might have your favorite mug. And just imagine if you broke your favorite mug. And then he was like, "Wow, I love this mug. I want this mug." So it was broken into pieces, much like she is. And so what he did was, he's in Japan. Okay, shoguns are in Japan. He sent his favorite tea bowl. He sent it to China, outside himself, outside of his country, to repair the bowl. Okay. Now they sent the bowl back, but the bowl had staples in it. Now, this was a fine piece of porcelain, ceramic. It was fine. It was worth a lot of money. Now, when they sent it back as it looked like a piece of garbage. It was staples in it. So the Shogun decided to do this. He said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to contact the people inside my own country, inside Japan. I'm going to reach out to artisans inside to fix my teacup. It was a teacup, I think it was. It's a teacup. And then he says, and so the artisans came back, and here's what they did. They said, well, we can't repair it like it was. But what they did was they took all of the ceramic pieces and they put gold resin in the ceramic bowl and they put it back together and they gave it to the emperor. Now, the emperor saw it and he said, now think about it. It had deep cuts in it, but where there were the deep gashes, the deep cuts where it was broken, it was put back together with gold resin. He looked at it and he said, this is amazing. And he said, this is amazing. I love it. And so what happened was this became a practice. Whenever something of value would break, they would put it back together and it would be even more valuable than before. And so what I told her was, I said, if you're not willing to be put back together, you're not going to ever become more valuable. Yes, you're broken, but what I'd like to do is help you get healed. And the bowl simply represents the healing and how we become better. We become more valuable. We become a better person than we once were. And so she said, wow, I never thought about it like that. And I said, so let me give you the principles of how to be better. And because I started off by simply saying this, and I'm going to start it with you guys. The truth is, many of you are gone, many ladies out there, many men too, are not responsible for your pain. Somebody hurt you, somebody deceived you, somebody lied to you. It happens to everybody. Somebody did this, somebody you thought you believed in, somebody you said, dog, man, you gave your heart to. You gave them everything you had and they discarded it. They trampled on it. And the truth of the matter is they did not value it. Okay? And I told her this. I said, you are not responsible for your pain, but you are responsible for your healing. And she said, what? I said, you are responsible for your healing. I said, you see, and see what happens is she was like, wait a minute. I said, yeah, you didn't cause the pain. Think about it. If your child fell and somebody ran into them with their bike, right? And they skinned up their knee, broke the knee or broke their leg or something. I said, the child didn't cause it. But you, as the mom, are responsible for taking the child to get healed. That's your responsibility. We all have to be willing to do that. So today, I'm going to show you how. And the reason why I'm prepping you for this is because starting next week, we're going to get into actual concepts, strategies of building relationships, of dating, all of that stuff. But you got to, this week is called Mindset Week. This is relationship mindset week, because if you don't get the relationship, your mindset right, it ain't gonna work anyway. You feel me? So let me give you these techniques. Here's what I told her. I said, number one, you have to take 100% responsibility for your life. I'll say it again. You have to take 100% responsibility for your own life. And the reason why that's important is because what do? We blame everybody else. We say, you know what, mom and daddy, I didn't have an environment where to learn in, and my sisters and brothers got all the attention. And then I was molested as a child. And then I grew up where we didn't have money. I couldn't go to school. I'm not smart enough. And I could go on and on and on. And what happens is this. When you don't take responsibility for your life, yes, you can't change what happened, but you can change what's going to happen. And so what I told her is, I said, when you keep blaming other people, circumstances, when you don't take responsibility for what is going on in your life, what happens, people and situations and circumstances will always control you. You will never take back the control of your life. Ever. I said, as long as you play the victim, you can never be the victor. You can never get victory from it because you keep saying that somebody else is responsible. I get it. But you are not, maybe are not responsible for your past, but you are responsible for your future. Whenever you make excuses, I'll give you a prime example. I'll give you a prime example of this, y'all. I used to be the kind of person, Milani Shani is my partner, and she was talking about today what limiting beliefs we have. And I said, one of the limiting beliefs I used to have is everything's got to be perfect before I started. In business, I would be like, you know what, I got to start this. I want to start this business. I got this idea. I want to do this, but I will do it someday when things are perfect, when things are better. And I said I would start it. But then all of a sudden, someday I'll never came. And what we do, y'all, we wait on things to become perfect. But that is a limiting belief that we have. And what I'm telling you is simply this: stop blaming everybody else for your problems. Okay, I got it, damn it. I got it. I shouldn't have been born in a family. I wish I was 6'6". I wish I wasn't a little chubby kid that grew up fat. I wish I never got to 420 pounds. Yeah, I wish. But the truth of the matter is, I cannot absolve myself when I was 420 pounds. I tried to absolve myself of my own responsibility. And the truth of the matter is, my choices took me there. Your choices take you where you're going. And see, you might be like, he hurt me. I didn't hurt him. But the truth of the matter is, you made a choice to date him. The truth of the matter is, you made a choice to look past the red flags that you saw there. The truth of the matter is, you look past everything because you felt like being with him, I'm going to feel good, my oxytocin, I'm going to feel good, somebody loving me and all of this stuff and all of that stuff. Basically, the choices you made was based on selfish reasons. And now you don't want to take responsibility for the choice you made. All of us, y'all, are participants in the things that happen to us. I'm not saying we're all responsible for everything, but I am saying we're responsible for the future that we create from this. So number one, you've got to be willing to take full 100% responsibility for your own life. Quit lying to yourself, y'all. Quit it. All right? Stop saying stuff to make you feel better about your own situation. That's number one. The second thing I told her was this. I said, you have to acknowledge who you are. You acknowledge who you are currently and where you are currently. And Dr. Field said it best. I didn't come up with this, y'all. I like to think I did. But Dr. Field said it best. He said, you cannot change what you don't acknowledge. You cannot change what you don't acknowledge. See, the problem is that if we quit lying to ourselves, then we're forced to look at ourselves. See, a lot of times we don't like what we look like in the mirror, but I said, that's okay. I said, true change cannot come face to face with who I am at the moment. And who I am at the moment, I don't like it. So what do? I don't want to come face to face with it. And I say to myself, a lot of you are negative people. A lot of ladies are negative people, not because, okay, I get it. You can't control the circumstances, but you control the negativity that you put out. Okay? Come face to face with who you are. Come face to face. Nobody else defines you but you. But what we're doing is when we look into the mirror, when we look into our eyes, we see somebody else. We're not willing to look at our own face, look deep into our soul. You know what I told somebody recently? Get this right here. Here's what I told them. I said, watch this. I said, when you walk at night, there is a shadow that is an exact replica of you, but the shadow is bigger than you, right? And I said, the problem is then when you're walking with your shadow does everything you do. It does everything you do, okay? So you can't get away from your shadow. Your behavior, So what the shadow does, which is an exact replica of you, the shadow does what you do, right? Okay, so if you don't like, you ever know when you playing at night and you start doing stuff like this, and your shadow starts to do what you're doing, start to do what you're doing. And what happens is now somebody starts walking beside you. Okay, and then you start looking at their shadow because you can no longer see your own. And what people start doing is they start looking at outside at the other person's shadow, and they start mimicking their behavior, not knowing the very thing that they have. The very thing that they have is going to take them where they need to go, but they're looking at someone else and looking at their movements. And I tell people, I said, listen, the truth is that's the beauty of it all. Every one of us has a unique understanding. God gave us all unique attributes, unique things that help us become who we're going to become. Okay, accept those things. Yeah, I don't have a six-pack like the next guy, but where we get it twisted, we live in a state of perpetual comparison. Okay, and then that leads us to perpetual frustration. Perpetual comparison is simply, I'm always comparing myself to somebody else. I'm always comparing myself to somebody else. I always tell people I don't compare myself to anybody else. I compare myself to my former self. Every time I want to get better, I said, how did I do it last week? I compare myself to that. Now I'm comparing two like things. Even though an apple and an orange, they are different. You can't compare them. Even though they're fruit, you cannot compare them because they're fundamentally different. So what happens is when you get in a relationship, you got to be willing to acknowledge where you are. And then once you do that, here's what you got to be willing to do. Is you got number 3, be willing to question everything you believe. Okay. All right. So the brain, and now everybody, please get this. Please get this. Your brain is powerful. Let me prove it to you. I know some of you don't know that I was on the show The Biggest Loser. Okay. I was on the show The Biggest Loser in 2006. You know, on that show, I lost over 100 pounds. And since then, I was 430 pounds, you know, roughly at my highest. And I've lost over 150 pounds. And I'll never forget the day. I'm going to tell you this quick story. I'll never forget the day I was coming back from one of my clients, because I was a motivational speaker even before I got on The Biggest Loser, y'all. And that's how I got on The Biggest Loser. The whole thing was, here I was motivating others to change their lives, and I couldn't change my own life. Now get that. Look at the irony in that, y'all. So one day, I'll quickly tell you this story. So one day, I was flying back from Joplin, Missouri. And when I was coming back from Joplin, Missouri, I wanted to get on the plane, and I was scared because, you know, sometimes I just didn't want people sitting beside me. So I hurried down, I got my seat assignment, and I got on the plane, and nobody was sitting beside me. It was one of those small planes where they had 2 seats on one side and 1 seat on the other. So I got on the seat where there's 1 seat. I'm good. I got the first hurdle taken care of. Nobody was sitting beside me. All right. So I tried to, at that point, I tried to buckle my seatbelt. Tried to buckle the seatbelt, and y'all couldn't get it buckled. And some people have heard this story, but and then I tried again, and I was like, I couldn't get it buckled. And I tried and I tried and I tried. And so I was faced with a dilemma. And here was the dilemma. I said, well, maybe I shouldn't tell the flight attendant. I said, I should not tell her that the belt, and just put my coat over my lap and she wouldn't see it. So I decided, nah, let me go and tell her about the belt extender. So I called her over. I said, ma'am, can you come here for a second? And she came over and she simply said this. I said, can I get a belt extender? She says, what'd you say you needed? And I was thinking to myself, oh shit, I know where this is going. I said, can I get a belt extender? She said this. She said, a belt extender? And everybody looked at me like, the fat dude over there needs a belt extender. And the truth of the matter, y'all, I got hot. I got hot as fish grease. But at that moment, on the flight back, it was 2 hours. I realized that every choice I'd made, that I never took 100% responsibility for my life. I blamed it on working. I blamed it on traveling. I blamed it on everybody else except me. And then I decided, because I know how the brain works. So here's what I did, y'all. I said, I'm going to ask myself 3 questions. I said, number 1, how can I lose the weight, 100 pounds? I was very specific. I said, number 2, how can I keep it off? And number 3, how can I inspire people in the process? The reason why I tell you to question everything is because whenever you ask your brain a question, it always endeavors to find the answer. If you don't believe me, how many times have you ever been with somebody and you forgot their name? You know, you're like, I know this person's name, I know their name, you forgot their name. And then you kept asking yourself, and then as soon as you get in your car, you're like, oh, that's Joe. You remembered the name because your brain kept working. Even though you didn't see it, it kept working. Whenever you ask a question, your brain looks for the answers. So when I ask that question, my brain began to look for the answers. Yours will do the same. Instead of asking, what we do is we ask questions that are not empowering. You have to ask empowering questions like the 3 that I asked. I used to ask questions like, why can't I lose weight? Why am I so fat? Why is this wrong? Why is this? And my brain kept telling me, because you work all the time, because you got to work, because you got to do this, because you do this, you do that. And what I'm saying is, instead of asking that in your relationships, here's a better question. I told the letter, I said, ask a better question. How can I find a guy that can empower me and I can love the rest of my life? What do I need to do with me to be able to attract that kind of man? Now you're asking questions that are going to fundamentally change your life. Because when you ask the right questions, your brain, your reticular activating system is going to help you find the right answers. And that's what I did. As soon as I asked those 3 questions, as soon as I got home off that trip, my wife told me about a friend of ours who's going to be on the show, The Biggest Loser. Now, I had never looked at the show but one time. Okay, I was on season 3. It had been on 2 seasons. I looked at it. Soon as that question went forth, the answer found me. That which you seek seeks you. You just have to look for it. I'll say it again. That which you seek seeks you. You just have to be willing to look for it. And I found it when I asked the questions. All of a sudden, The Biggest Loser came into my world, because I wasn't thinking about it before. But when you asked the question, then it came into my world. And I went up there. The rest is history. I got on the show, and I told her, begin to question that. And the last thing is this. And the last thing I said, if you want to get out of your pain, I said, if you want to get healed, I said, the last thing, number 4, is act as if. She said, what? I said, act as if. I said, okay. I said, what would you do if you had the relationship of your dreams? Would you be cooking more? Would you be taking care of your body? Would you be taking care of yourself? I said, would you be into personal development? Would you take that class you always wanted? What would you do? If you want that, act as if you already have it. Start doing the things you would do if you had it. Like, think about it like this. And this works in my own life, y'all, because the truth of the matter is I got frustrated at the end of last year because financially, I'm like, I'm just like a lot of these coaches out here, and I'm not doing financially what they're doing. And I'm like, I'm just as smart as these guys. Let me keep it 100 with you. That's what I was thinking. And then I thought to myself, Ken, act as if. What are they doing? Do what they do. Act as if you already have the money. Act as if you already have the millions. That's why you're listening to this class right here today. That's why you on this live, because I'm acting as if I already have it. They're doing the very things that I'm doing now. And all of a sudden, you will begin to attract the things in your life that are going to edify you, that are going to magnify you, that are going to take you where you want to go in your life. I'm meeting people now. I have partnerships now that I never would have had last year if I wasn't willing to act as if. Act as if. Stop acting like you don't have. Stop operating from a position of lack. Stop operating from a position of I don't have. Now, all you have to do is act as if, and then the manifestation of it will come into your life. It will come into your life, y'all. And so my last thing is this. What is it that you need to do to act as if? That you already, like you already have the relationship of your dreams. You already have the woman of your dreams, the man of your dreams, the relationship of your dreams. What would you be doing if you did that, if you had that? Okay? Start doing that. All right, y'all. Listen, I'm about to go. I want to say this. You have your homework. Some people are doing their homework, some are not. But here's your homework. The homework is simply this. Write down 3 things in your life you choose to take responsibility for, that you have been absolving yourself of responsibility. I want you to write down 3 things that you choose to take responsibility for that maybe you haven't in the past. Okay? Write them down. If you have any questions, you can always inbox me, and I am Ken Canion, one half of the Grand Canyons. One half of the Grand Canyons, y'all. I appreciate you. Have a great day. Remember, every journey starts with one step.